Like it or not, California is going to be an all-electric house state by 2030. And in most places of the Bay Area, you can't even install gas in a new house. So let's talk about how we retrofit an existing house to be all electric. Today we're at the Cliff House and we're talking to Juan, the project manager for this project. And this project decided to go all electric. The clients were super excited about it. Now typically we have to talk to our clients about going all electric and convince them using one of three arguments. The first is that we get to not give money to PG&E, our local utility. We get to not give money to the fossil fuel industry. And we get to reduce the risks of explosion by gas leaks in the house and also by carbon monoxide poisoning, also from incomplete combustion of gas in the house. Now, Juan, when we talked to these clients and they were excited about going with an all-electric house, we really had to think about how we installed all electric into this house. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like to turn the furnace from a gas-burning furnace into an electric furnace?
Sure, yes. I mean, it's pretty cool. Try to write off all the big conduits to supply the air conditioning into the house. Now we go with the more easy things. I mean, just cassettes. I mean, those go independently in different areas.
So we're using a mini split system, so
Correct.
An all-electric heat pump system that uses small cassettes that fit in the ceilings?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And
so that's what we're actually seeing above our head is the line set. So instead of an 18 or 24 inch duct running through the house, we have these little 1-inch lines surrounded in insulation that we can run to these cassettes. And they function as the heating and the cooling system. So we get heating and cooling from an all-electric system.
That's right.
So then we also saved a ton of space in this house because now we didn't have these giant ducts and we can actually use that for other stuff. Storage, equipment storage, closets, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so that seems like it was a pretty good deal.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that was actually, the heating system was actually cheaper to run the mini split system than it was to run the forced air system because we didn't have all these ducts. So the cost was actually less, but also the clients got more of their house to use for their uses instead of just occupied by ducts.
Correct. That's true.
That's great. So what about water heating? How was that?
That's another cool thing. I mean, it was pretty easy. I mean, the houses already had a water heater. So all we did is just replace the existing water heater for a new different type of water heater, which is used in a heat pump too.
Okay. And so that heat pump is in the same spot as the old water heater?
Correct.
So all we had to do is run electrical to that?
That's all we need to do.
So that seems pretty easy. Now, this house has an attic or a small attic and it has a crawl space and it's wide open. So that makes it easier for us to run the electrical lines from the electrical panel to those fixtures, correct?
Correct.
So this would be a lot more difficult if we had, say, a slab foundation and a flat roof with no space, because then we wouldn't really have the chases to run that electrical lines to those portions of the house that need electricity.
That's right.
Okay. So we have to pay attention to the structure of the house in order to understand how complex it is to run electric to these fixtures.
Correct.
Okay, so then let's talk about the cooktop. Now, in the past, we've actually had a lot of resistance from clients for not wanting to go to an induction cooktop. And what we've seen is that induction, it requires the homeowners to get all new pans, ones that have iron in them, because induction operates by using a magnet to essentially cause electric current to go in the pan, which then heats the molecules up and causes heat. How complex was it to actually run an induction cooktop here?
The same easy as the other things. I mean, just run an electrical outlet, and just plug in the new one.
Really? So that's really it. It's just a matter of running an electrical line to the outlet and nothing else. You still have to vent them though, right? It still has to have a hood vent and all that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but
Go ahead.
Just for ventilation, but doesn't need to be involved more than an electrical thing.
So it's not really about stopping toxic gases from polluting the indoor environment like we would have with a gas burning appliance. It's really about getting rid of steam and moisture and smells.
Correct.
Okay, so it's really more like a bath fan than it is like getting rid of a toxic waste hood.
Correct.
Okay. And then the last thing, and this is something that we actually have a lot of trouble with, is fireplaces, right? So people, even though this is California and very rarely do we actually use fireplaces, and most of the time when I walk into a house and ask them about their fireplace, they're like, yeah, we've used that twice in 5 years, right? But a lot of people love the idea of the fireplace and of seeing the flame of the fireplace, not really in heating the environment. So how do we get rid of fireplaces or convince clients to get rid of fireplaces?
Well, on this particular house, we're gonna use a green fireplace, which is not gonna be required gas.
Okay.
Let's go more with a green product, denatured alcohol.
Okay, so we're actually using a fireplace, but that fireplace is different. It's really just a stainless steel box with some glass rocks in it that you pour denatured alcohol in, and then you light that denatured alcohol. So it's
Correct.
actually a flame.
Yeah, and it's an actual flame.
And so we don't have to worry about that flame, and we don't have to vent it to the outside because, as you said, it's denatured alcohol, and when we burn it, it's really just carbon dioxide and water vapor.
Totally right.
So really, it's not really a challenge or introducing any toxins into the house when we burn that. It's totally safe, and it doesn't produce a lot of heat, so there's not really a burn risk for that as well, right?
Right. Totally friendly and the environment
Okay.
inside of the house.
So then when we look at the costs on electrifying a house, and obviously we're doing a lot of other work on this project, when we look at the costs, what we really have to think about is running those wires, which is really pretty easy based on what you said, right?
Yeah,
Okay, and then we had to upgrade the electrical panel in this house, right?
correct.
Okay, so we know from previous experience that depending on the size of the electrical system, it's either a 200 amp or a 320 amp or maybe even a 400 amp. That's anywhere between like $3,000 and $5,000 to upgrade that electrical panel.
That's right.
Right? But we do have to get the local utility to supply us electricity to that panel. So we have to work with PG&E to move the electrical line from the old panel to the new panel. But really that's about it, right?
Yes, that's all I know.
Okay. And then what I love about this is that when we have this new all-electric house, and this client is going to put solar on their roof, and in California we get a lot of sun, and that solar will produce almost as much power as this entire house is going to need for the entire year.
Correct.
And so really, not only have we electrified the house very cost effectively because we're doing it when we're doing a bunch of other work, but we're replacing systems that weren't very functional to begin with, and we're doing it with a solar system. So now we get free electricity to compensate for our all-electric house, and we're building a house that really is going to have very little utility bills for the next 25 years.
Correct.
Wow. So we can see from this situation that this project is not unlike a lot of our other projects, and it's actually really easy to all electrify that house. The utilities are going to go down dramatically. The appliances are not any more expensive than normal gas burning appliances, and we don't have to vent those appliances because of noxious fumes. And so we're actually making a more energy efficient, comfortable house to begin with. As we discussed, electrification of a house is actually a fairly simple and straightforward process. And if we combine it with solar PV, we can actually eliminate our utility bills for decades to come. If you'd like to learn more about building science or this project or our other projects, hit subscribe as we show you how to build a better way.